and issues shaping our community. This is Comcast Newsmakers.
Our next guest has worked with artists like Lauryn Hill, Casey and the Sunshine Band, Creed, and P. Diddy. Now, music producer and engineer John D. Thomas is working on a new form of audiobooks. The recent production, 2012, The Maya Armageddon, has received positive feedback. It was even on the short list for a Grammy. The two-time Grammy Award-winning producer and engineer joins us now to tell us what makes this audiobook so different from the rest. And thanks for coming to our show.
Thanks for having me.
It's good to have you here. You're quite accomplished as far as the music industry, aren't you?
Yeah, I try. I try to stay busy and keep my mind focused.
And you still do that now?
Yes, I sure do. Yes.
But you branched out, and I want to show everybody this. This is 2012, The Maya Armageddon. And this is what it looks like. It's in a CD, but this is a kind of an interesting way of approaching the end of the world, isn't it?
Yeah, well, you know, everything's so dark and hateful these days. We're trying to make some hope, you know, and we have a 9-hour audiobook that's full of music and audio effects, and like every action has a sound effect, so you really feel like you're in the moment of the book. So you can close your eyes and imagine that you're there, and everyone has a different reaction to it. So
and one of the, we should mention, one of the actresses here used to be a singer. And the group Ecstasy, right?
Oh, Expose.
Expose back in the 1980s.
Yeah, in the 80s and late 80s. It was Gioia Bruno. She's the main character, and she plays Maya Porter, who finds out that she was Eve in her past life, and then the story starts there and ends in 2012. So
wow, a lot of reincarnations there, right?
Yeah, right. She does. She has a lot of reincarnations. She was a Mayan princess, and she finds out that her daughter was Joan of Arc, and it goes through this whole historical timeline.
But this is a comedy, too. It's a comedy horror film.
Yeah, there's a lot of very funny things in there, too.
And the way this is different is that you actually used your expertise as a sound engineer to put in all these different sound effects.
Yeah, I have a full library of sound effects, so you hear a lot of explosions and fire and vampires biting with fangs and things like this.
So it's almost like a movie, the audio track of a movie.
It is. It sounds like a movie soundtrack, and a lot of people say that. And it's don't drive while listening to it, because you might wreck. So you know, watch out for the cars.
Is there a warning on this thing? Do not drive while listening to it. And we also should mention an author, the Snake River Massacre. And again, you bring your interesting genre of horror-y, as comedy and horror,
right, exactly.
into this as well.
Yeah, and that's about some students from FIU that go to Oleta River, the state park here in Miami.
That's right off Biscayne Boulevard and on 163rd Street.
Yeah, exactly.
Sunny Isles Boulevard. Yeah.
Right. They go back in there, and they're doing a science experiment during their spring break, and they run across some pirate treasure and some old pirate ghosts that they didn't want to really run into. So,
really?
And the rest is a secret, so you have to find the ending.
No sound effects in the book?
Yeah, that's actually there is. We're in the process of putting that together as an
audiobook as well.
Yeah, it's almost done, actually.
Now, do you see this and the production of audiobooks as an evolution of your role as a sound engineer and producer? Yeah,
it's fun. It's something that's a little different, you know, instead of working with artists all the time and stuff like that. It's just something, you know, I've been creative in writing, and my friend Jeffrey S. Eric helped co-write the 2012 Maya Armageddon, and then we started it just as an audiobook, and then we started adding some sound effects here and there, and then before you know it was full from beginning to end, 9 hours.
It was pretty interactive, wasn't it? Did the actors hear all the sound effects as they were reading, or they did separate tracks?
Sometimes yes, and sometimes no. It depended how far we were ahead in the production at the time. But a lot of times they just did it on the fly, and then we added the sound effects later. But sometimes we had the sound effects there while they were there, and then they really got into it when the sound effects were there.
This is almost like acting for a movie, wasn't it? Did they had to assume different roles and keep that role throughout the entire audiobook?
That's right, Spiro. We had a bunch of friends come in, they read for the book, and the good ones made it, and we just, you know, and then we just cut what was good and bad, and as we went around, we found the best actors, and it turned out great.
All right, a brand new genre has just been discovered here. This hour's newsmaker has been two-time Grammy Award winner John D. Thomas on his new audiobook, the 2012 Maya Armageddon, available now on iTunes. Jam to your favorite tunes on Comcast Channel 1 On Demand under Getting Local. I'm Spiro Kent. Thanks for joining us.